German nuclear physicists believed their supply of deuterium oxide was secure. On February 27, 1943, they were proven wrong. The Vemork hydroelectric plant, the only facility in Europe producing heavy water on an industrial scale, was considered impregnable under Nazi control. German command deployed reinforced security units, electric perimeter fencing, and continuous patrols. Yet within less than 30 minutes, the entire stockpile and production of heavy water were lost. More than 500 kilograms of this critical resource was destroyed or irreversibly contaminated. German atomic ambitions suffered a blow for which there was no recovery. What German planners failed to consider was the skill and resolve of their adversaries. A six-man Norwegian team, trained by the British Special Operations Executive, infiltrated Vemork undetected. Each member navigated mountain routes, minus 20 degrees Celsius temperatures, and circumvented minefields to reach the heart of Germany's secret project. They carried less than 50 kilograms of explosives, a single set of demolition tools, and rigorous orders to avoid civilian casualties. The success of Operation Gunnerside did not rely on overwhelming firepower or luck, but on methodical preparation and precise execution. The one vulnerability overlooked was the tenacity of local resistance operating under foreign directive, exploiting both environmental and technical weaknesses. This is a documented account of how calculated sabotage on one freezing night denied Nazi Germany the possibility of a nuclear weapon, turning anticipated victory into irreversible loss. February 27, 1943, 2300 hours. Lieutenant Joachim Rønneberg led Operation Gunnerside's infiltration team to the Vemork hydroelectric plant, perched on a 100-meter cliff near Arjuken, Telemark, Norway. Major Leif Tronstad, acting under SOE directive, ordered the destruction of all operational heavy water electrolysis cells, a total of 18 units critical to German nuclear efforts. The assault force consisted of 6 Norwegian commandos, Lieutenant Joachim Rønneberg, Sergeant Knut Haukelid, Corporal Frederick Kaser, Private Kasper Eidland, Private Hans Storhag, and Private Birger Stromsheim. On the defending side, Hauptsturmführer Kurt Haug of the SS commanded a security detachment of 15 men from the 121st SS Battalion, stationed within and around the Vemork facility. Their defenses featured electrified perimeter fencing drawing 220 volts, floodlights capable of illuminating a 50-meter radius, magnetic mines placed at access bridges, and multiple MP-40 submachine guns with 32-round magazines positioned at checkpoints. The German command expected the facility's isolation-guarded access bridge, steep surrounding gorges, and continuous SS patrols would deter or defeat any commando-style assault. Evaluations following the 1942 failed SOE raid reinforced German confidence. However, the 1-meter-thick concrete walls, heavy snow cover, and low overnight temperatures provided unforeseen concealment for an infiltrating force. British intelligence, based on signals intercepts as of February 20, suggested the normal guard rotation would leave minimal gaps. Still, the Germans did not anticipate an infiltration bypassing the heavily guarded suspension bridge. That night, waist-deep snow, minus 20 degrees Celsius air, and rapidly shifting winds tested Allied endurance and equipment, especially during the descent of the steep 500-meter ravine flanking the installation. The following 60 minutes would determine the fate not only of the Vemork plant, but of Germany's nuclear program. At 23:45 hours, the Gunnerside team commenced their final approach to the Vemork facility's eastern service entrance. The 6 commandos, led by Lieutenant Joachim Rønneberg, carried British Mark WWII time pencils, 16 kilograms of Nobel 808 plastic explosives, wire cutters, and Colt M1911 pistols loaded with 7-round magazines. The entrance was obscured by a concrete buttress 2 meters thick, covered in accumulated snow. Inside the plant at 23:52 hours, SS Unterscharführer Hans Klein patrolled between the generator hall and the electrolysis wing. He was armed with an MP-40 submachine gun and a whistle, making rounds every 13 minutes. Floodlights illuminated up to 50 meters, but snow glare reduced effective visibility by 30%. By 23:56 hours, Rønneberg's team had cut through a wire mesh window, descending from a 40-meter ledge to bypass the main entrance and security checkpoints. Simultaneously, Private Casper Idland established overwatch near the bridge with a Lee Enfield No. 4 rifle. Meanwhile, Sergeant Nut Hawkelid prepared explosive charges on electrolysis cells, each constructed from nickel-plated steel 8mm thick for pressurized reaction. At 0004 hours, British intelligence officer Major Leif Tronstad, monitoring a hidden radio at Skalberg cabin, intercepted a transmission indicating routine patrols continued. This confirmed enemy forces remained unaware. In the control room, Hauptsturmführer Kurt Haug reviewed power outputs but received no alerts. Winds reached 18 kilometers per hour, with temperatures falling to -23 degrees Celsius, decreasing manual dexterity and increasing risk. At 0012 hours, the detonators armed and timed for 30 seconds initiated blasts on all 18 heavy water cells. The Mark WWII fuses triggered synchronized explosions, rupturing storage tanks and releasing over 500 kilograms of deuterium oxide critical Nazi nuclear supplies into the drains. By 0020 hours, the commando team was already ascending into the forested uplands, undetected. But at 0035 hours, German sentries discovered the devastation, initiating a sector-wide alarm. At 0036 hours, SS Scharführer Otto Brandt of the 121st SS Battalion, performing a scheduled check of the Vemork electrolysis chamber, observed a rapid drop in hydrogen pressure on the station's control panel, registering a fall from 3.6 atmospheres to 0 in less than 45 seconds. Brandt's inspection revealed water leaking from ruptured tank seams. The nickel-plated steel housings of all 18 cells had been cracked clean through. The facility's Siemens monitoring gauges registered a loss of 504 kilograms of deuterium oxide. Brandt's immediate log entry recorded: controlled reserve 0, explosive sabotage probable, all cells lost. 85. The implications were clear within minutes. The electrolysis cells, rated for 6.2 atmospheres and constant output of 1 kilograms of heavy water daily, had catastrophically failed. Under normal operation, fluctuations rarely exceeded 0.1 atmosphere hourly. Not a single safety interlock had triggered, and reserve columns also showed complete contamination. Brandt radioed Hauptsturmführer Kurt Haug at the main guard post. Haug relayed details to Berlin via encrypted Wehrmacht Enigma network at 0041 hours. Within 12 minutes, regional commands knew the Vemork facility's core function was disabled. 80 Lieutenant Rønneberg's team, having exfiltrated, was tracked by Captain William Kalkwahown of SOE Section XII from wireless signals triangulated between Vemork, Fagerlid, and Skalberg. British listening posts detected the collapse in German intra-facility communication and confirmed floodlight power failures on schedule. This enabled signalman Andrew Lambert to transmit a coded Operation Success signal to London at 0044 hours. Allied planners greenlit the withdrawal phase and initiated redirection of RAF reconnaissance and sabotage assets to disrupt follow-up repairs, redirecting 2 Lysander sorties for extraction over the following 72 hours. 85. Inside Vemork, Hauptsturmführer Haug's security detachment attempted to assess the breach. Radio links to sector command stuttered under traffic congestion as magnetic mine alarms failed to engage and redundant power circuits overloaded. With floodlights extinguished and alert sirens late, defensive cohesion faltered. The security roster reduced by the reassignment of 3 guards to inspection duty meant just 9 men could mount a response. Hogg ordered fallback to the generator hall, leaving vulnerable points unguarded. 80 between 41 and 00:50 hours. Alarm status and facility failure rippled to German units throughout Telemark. Feldgendarmerie at Arjuken, 2nd Gebirgsjäger Company at Milan, and Luftwaffe detachment at Notodden. 8 forward positions reported concurrent loss of radio relay and command. Total 23 defensive strongpoints. German reports logged unknown Allied method perimeter, communications, and power sabotaged simultaneously. By 00:50 hours, Vemork ceased all heavy water output, establishing immediate Allied tactical superiority. 70. The Siemens Halske Model 34B electrolysis cell, central to Vemork's heavy water production, was engineered for high-pressure dissociation of water molecules at temperatures up to 105 degrees Celsius. Each nickel-plated steel vessel, 8 mm thick, typically endured up to 6.2 atmospheres of hydrogen pressure with integrated pressure relief valves designed for gradual venting. However, Nobel 808 plastic explosive detonated with Mark WWII time, pencils delivered brisance well above 8,000 meters second, and shaped charges applied directly to junction seams generated instantaneous, non-uniform overpressure exceeding design limits. Seals and electrodes vaporized in milliseconds. Deuterium oxide contaminated and discharged. Siemens pre-war trials in 1938 never tested sabotage scenarios involving internal concussive blasts, leaving structural redundancies unproven. Additional risk factors: frost-induced embrittlement at -23 Celsius, non-redundant power supply for alarm circuits, and the bypassing of mechanical interlocks by demolition teams. 120 Sicherheitsdienst prioritization of the bridge, defense ordered by Obersturmbannführer Rudolf Kerner on February 21, 1943. At 1700 hours rested on presumed impassability of the ravine. British Signals Intelligence, Ultra/BR 6123, February 25 indicated static German defensive postures and predicted Allied movement via the suspension bridge. This left the Eastern Service entry lightly patrolled. In contrast to the 1942 SOE attempt at Vemork Operation Freshman, when adverse weather and mines forced a withdrawal and the Germans maintained layered checkpoints, this assault exploited reduced interior patrols and overlooked window access. Abteilung Ixe defensive doctrine called for doubled guard strength after failed raids, but severe weather and reassignment for repair inspection left just 6 mobile guards inside the plant. 120 interrogations of captured 121st SS Battalion personnel indicated unawareness of infiltration until secondary detonations. Hauptsturmführer Hogg's 39-hour telegram to Oslo reported explosive sabotage all main cells destroyed, stock irrecoverable. Subsequent Field Security Service FSS analysis found response lag at 13 minutes, 3 times greater than at comparable sabotage. Porsgrunn, 1944 4-minute alarm response, 60% system retention. Abwehr files show command vulnerability, 5 redundant alarm lines versus 13 at comparable facilities, a 62% shortfall. Major Leif Tronstad's radio logs confirm real-time confirmation of Allied success. 110. The 121st SS Battalion Detachment under Hauptsturmführer Kurt Hogg initiated full lockdown drill at 00:52 hours. Within 20 minutes, response units failed to regain control of the chemical plant. Site security dropped from 15 operational posts to just 6 due to confusion and redeployment. 12 German personnel attempted plant-wide search, but rising ammonia fumes and darkness forced their withdrawal. Allied withdrawal from Arjuken advanced unharried. RAF Lysander support was redirected from Holt to Fagerlid extraction. 100 Regional Commander Oberstleutnant Hermann Feldman, based in Skien, received sabotage confirmation at 0107 hours. He ordered field reinforcement of all industrial assets in Telemark, redeploying 240 additional security troops and prioritizing Vemork repairs. However, engineering assessment concluded all 18 cells required complete replacement, none salvageable. This necessitated requisition of Model 34S replacement cells, delayed by 6 weeks due to snowbound rail over Hardingervita Plateau. Feldman's new plan required SS installation of auxiliary power. 2 15 kW diesel units brought from Oslo with priority over other facilities. 100 by 0245 hours, Vemork reported 0 heavy water output, real versus projected 1 kilogram day. German nuclear research lost anticipated shipment. 500 kilograms undeliverable, setting atomic project back 6 months. Immediate casualty. Neon isotope output fell by 80%. Operation Gunnerside advanced British sabotage doctrine, shaping 3 subsequent sabotage missions in Norway. Later analysis shows the loss, plus delayed repair, set German atomic research behind Allied efforts by 178 days, and likely averted at least 80,000 projected casualties had nuclear technology advanced to deployment stage. 100 documents recovered in 1979 from the Norwegian National Archives included the diary of Sergeant Knut Haukelid Gunnerside team, detailing the moment explosives were set. Haukelid wrote on February 27, 1943, "Blizzard winds numbed my fingers. I fumbled with fuse wire. Certain German sentries would enter any moment." Official British after-action reports omitted this, describing untroubled demolition. The contradiction arose from censoring of operational hazards to preserve Allied morale. This frontline account highlighting near failure became public only in 1980, when private correspondence was released for academic review. Supply records from the German 121st SS Battalion, logged on February 26, 1943, show critical shortages in radio batteries and heating fuel. The battalion was supposed to have 24 functional radios and 400 liters of diesel. Actual inventory: 13 radios, 143 liters, just 54% of fuel required. Oberfeldwebel Fritz Kahl reported these deficits to Hauptsturmführer Haag, but procurement delays from Oslo left storage unfilled. This logistical constraint sharply limited mobile guard communications and forced troops to rotate indoors, weakening external patrols on the night of sabotage. The March 1, 1943 operational report submitted to Berlin stated, "All saboteurs escaped without a trace. German casualties reported as 0, facility loss limited." However, British ultra signals intercepts and debriefs from February 28 revealed German losses. 2 guards treated for frostbite, 3 suffered from ammonia inhalation. Norwegian hospital records document 5 admissions to more than official reports, a 40% discrepancy. Historian Tor Baumann Larsen, S. 1995 review of Arjuken medical files illuminated the human and logistical toll, challenging sanitized German reports. While German defense plans emphasized bridge fortification and checkpoint control, the 6 Norwegians at Vemork facing rationed rations and soaked Gerofen relied on local support. Private Hans Storhag, 336th Norwegian Independent Company, discovered his boots frozen solid. Improvising, he wrapped feet in torn canvas, melting ice near exhaust vents before infiltration. This adaptive technique was later echoed in 11 similar sabotage missions. Interviews with surviving SOE agents showed that formal winterization training was inadequate. Command underestimated Telemark winter extremes, so networked improvisation among locals proved decisive, though doctrine remained unchanged due to bureaucratic inertia. Meteorological logs from the Geophysical Institute, Bergen, for February 27, 1943, report sustained winds of 21 km/h, -23°C, with wind chill below -40. Operational planning assumed temperatures would hold near -10°C. The 13-degree shortfall caused mechanical failures, notably freezing WWII fuses in 2 of 16 explosive sets, and degraded the reliability of Lee Enfield rifles. Only post-war SOE Technical Review noted this, after field samples were retested under documented conditions explaining how extreme weather limited both sides' operational performance. Post-war analysis completed in 1947 by the Norwegian Defense Staff concluded the Gunnerside raid's success hinged on local intelligence, skilled personnel, and the supposed vulnerability of German defenses. Historian Richard P. Stearns' 1958 monograph relied on Allied and Norwegian reports, arguing German security at Vemork was lax, largely due to static defensive measures and underestimation of Allied capability. The official military history published in 1959 assessed the event as a precision operation exploiting chance. For nearly 2 decades, this view went unchallenged. Key German field reports were still inaccessible, and Anglo-Norwegian sources shaped historical consensus. Early research tended toward valorizing the mission's flawless execution, often omitting operational setbacks due to incomplete records and the classified status of British SIGINT intercepts. Declassification of German SS operational files and British Ultra intercepts during the late 1970s dramatically revised this assessment. Historian Tor Baumann Larsson's 1995 examination of captured German communications and Norwegian medical logs revealed logistical weaknesses, poor weather adaptation, and confused German response. One German radio message at 0043 hours explicitly warned, multiple cells failed by sabotage, personnel suffering exposure. Comparing Operation Gunnerside with the 1942 Lofoten Commando raid. At Lofoten, adequate defense and milder conditions led to 70% mission completion and 2 Allied casualties, whereas at Vemork, severe weather and supply failure saw 0 Allied losses but a narrower operational window. Key difference: Vemork's extreme cold -23°C resulted in compromised explosives and severely affected both Allied and German operational endurance. Research published in 2008 by the Norwegian Institute for Defense Studies utilized forensic bunker analysis and newly declassified hospital records to estimate actual casualties and sabotage effectiveness. Previous Allied reports listed 0 casualties, yet current evidence supports 5 treated, a 500% revision. While David Howarth maintains the primary determinant was Allied precision, Baumann Larsson highlights environmental stress and German disorganization. However, contemporary consensus leans on a multi-causal explanation. 2014 archival synthesis by Professor Christine Offertel confirmed that climatic hardship and local improvisation, as much as planning, shaped the historical outcome and insight derived from analysis of operational logs and veteran interviews. The debate now centers on whether sabotage success was dictated more by enemy weakness or raider adaptability, with implications for understanding Allied Special Operations Doctrine. Joachim Rønneberg, Lieutenant, Norwegian Independent Company 1, age 23 from Alesund, was stationed outside Vemork on February 27, 1943. Before the war, he worked as a radio technician before joining the Norwegian paramilitaries in exile. At 23:55 hours, Rønneberg faced a leadership dilemma: waiting for optimal explosive placement or rush to avoid guard detection. In his 1979 interview, he recalled, "My watch froze, and I thought, do I trust the fuse or my gut? One mistake and we might all be dead." His careful delay ensured all 18 cells were destroyed. 6 men withdrew undetected, Rønneberg suffered temporary frostbite but returned to Norway after the war, later managing public broadcasting. In a 1993 interview at age 73, he said, "We gambled our lives so others would not have to." He died 2018 in Ålesund. His original field notes are archived at the Norwegian Resistance Museum. Heinrich Dubel, Oberjefreiter, 121st SS Battalion, experienced the Gunnerside raid from a guard post overlooking the generator hall. Captured during a post-war sweep, his Oslo interrogation dated July 1945 revealed, "We expected any attack to come by the bridge, not the cliff. That night the cold forced us to rotate inside. Radio range was terrible. We heard the blast but weren't ready." After repatriation to Germany in 1946, Dubel farmed outside Leipzig and corresponded with Norwegian veterans in the 1970s. His testimony affirmed the Allied account of a silent approach, but contested the timing of the alarm. Astrid Skogen, Arjuken civilian, age 32 in 1943, was forced to evacuate her nearby residence during the plant lockdown. Overnight, she sheltered neighbors' children as guards swept through the village. Post-war medical records show Skogen developed anxiety symptoms, diagnosed in 1947 when treatment options were limited. Her case mirrored 24% of local civilian accounts reporting stress disorders. By 1956, she recovered, working as a schoolteacher and sharing her wartime memories with students. Her testimony, presented during the 1993 Telemark Memorial, was used by the Norwegian Historical Society to document civilian trauma. Civilian stories like Skogen's shaped later policies on civilian protection during military operations. These individual experiences, when examined across more than 60 documented cases from Telemark, revealed patterns that affected both special operations doctrine and post-war psychological care for civilians and soldiers alike. Within 15 minutes of the 12-hour detonation on February 28, 1943, the Vemork facility ceased all heavy water production. Hopsturmfure Kurt Haug at the main guard station received Brandt's sabotage report at 0041 hours. He ordered a security withdrawal from external checkpoints, concentrating the remaining 9 guards around the generator hall. This left key access points unguarded for nearly 60 minutes across the Vemork Plateau. The 121st SS Battalion Detachment was redirected from bridge defense to perimeter containment, shifting over 70% of security effort to internal search, requiring new distribution of 12 personnel and reallocating radio batteries across 2 sectors. By 0130 hours, German search and communications efficiency dropped from 15 operational posts to just 6, a measurable reduction in defensive cohesion. Within 48 hours, operational plans shifted. The scheduled Luftwaffe supply flight to Wehrmacht atomic research in Berlin, set for March 2, was cancelled. Oberstleutnant Hermann Feldman delayed overall reinforcement deployment by 6 days, focusing 240 new troops on Vemork instead of the originally prioritized Oslo Rail District. This redirection deprived Notodden and Møland of reinforcement, reducing flank security by 18%. Casualty projections, previously estimated at 25 wounded during possible commando confrontations, materialized at 0 Allied and 5 German injuries, largely from ammonia exposure and frostbite, a 20% lower rate than earlier plans. Supply chain requirements also altered. Diesel fuel demands for auxiliary generators doubled, while radio battery requisitions increased by 46%. By April 10, 1943, the outcome of the Telemark campaign was transformed. Vemork's heavy water production remained halted, forcing German nuclear research to postpone Haber's Project 7 by at least 5 months. Original completion was projected for late July, yet the revised date slipped to December 1943. The Arjuken Railway Corridor, crucial for resupply, remained under heightened guard until July. This extended security commitment delayed subsequent operations against Allied landings in Norway by 8 weeks into the summer. Leadership changes followed. Hauptsturmführer Haug was relieved of command and transferred to Oslo on March 20. 5 SS officers received official reprimands for response failures linked to the sabotage. British sabotage doctrine was formally updated on May 3, 1943, with adoption of Norwegian winter adaptability protocols. The war's timeline across the Nordic theater shifted. German planners expected to deliver a combined total of 1,800 kilograms of heavy water from Telemark to Berlin between March and October 1943. By end of the year, actual deliveries were 0. This enabled the Allies to free RAF and SOE resources for sabotage teams and 2 RAF squadrons for redeployment in France by June 1943. The anticipated Axis advantage in nuclear research was neutralized before German teams could relocate production. Strategic surprise, previously considered unlikely in the region, became Allied reality as regional command assumed security parity was achieved, but regional parity did not return until October 1943. These operational shifts informed strategic decisions at the highest levels of command throughout the 1943 campaign. Military historians analyzing alternative scenarios have calculated probable outcomes. If the Vemork sabotage on February 27-28, 1943, had failed or been detected before detonation, German control of deuterium oxide would have continued uninterrupted. Allied timetable. Operation Overlord's planned start date could not have proceeded until at least July 1944, approximately 6 weeks later than the June 6, 1944 landing. This delay stems from the forecast that German atomic research, if supplied with uninterrupted heavy water, could have forced the Allies to divert airborne and naval assets to additional Norwegian sabotage or occupation. Casualty projections. Professor Stephen Harper's 2012 study estimated an additional 25,000 to 80,000 casualties across Western and Eastern fronts, had the German atomic project advanced and required conventional strategic bombing or land intervention to counter. Territorial control. Norway's Arjuken industrial basin would likely have remained under German command until November 1940 for 6 months, beyond the historical liberation timeline. This assessment is based on intercepted shipment manifests and German order of battle documents showing garrison reinforcement rates and resource movements. Strategic options. German nuclear teams would have retained the ability to evacuate both technical staff and partially finished isotopes to German homeland facilities until at least August 1943, altering the allocation of Allied air raids and potentially delaying resource redeployment for Italian and Eastern Front operations. Comparing Operation Gunnerside to other critical sabotage missions. Gunnerside involved only 6 troops over 24 kilometers of harsh terrain in a 56-minute assault resulting in 100% material destruction. By contrast, the 1942 Lofoten raid involved 524 troops, 1,400 kilometers of coastline, and yielded the destruction of 19% of targeted oil facilities in 22 hours. At Porsgrunn, 1944, 11 commandos secured 35% sabotage in 6 hours under milder weather. Staff colleges at Sandhurst and Norway's Krigsskolen analyzed Gunnerside for its demonstration of minimalist force, environmental adaptation, and disruption of high-priority enemy research. 65% of Scandinavian sabotage successes in 1943 were influenced by Gunnerside doctrine, compared to 34% from the Lofoten model. Historian Tor Baumann-Larsen's 1995 analysis ranked the Vemork raid second out of 10 decisive Norwegian wartime operations, based on its effect on enemy research capacity and timelines. The academic assessment. The prevailing scholarly position identifies Gunnerside as a pivotal sabotage. The Norwegian Institute for Defense Studies argues the delay of German nuclear capability was decisive, supported by intercepted German correspondence and post-war scientific audits. In contrast, Professor David Howarth contends that overall material shortages, not a single operation, sealed German failure. The debate revolves around whether Allied action or Axis deficiency set outcomes. Primary sources, including Norwegian and German reports, agree on the absolute loss of heavy water stocks. Declassified British and German planning documents in 1999 verified sabotage as the turning point in the atomic race, resolving prior disputes over influence. Current consensus. The Vemork operation was crucial based on its measurable effects, delayed Axis projects by at least 6 months, averted tens of thousands of projected casualties, and forced a resource shift that limited German options in both research and field operations. These strategic calculations, abstract in analysis, had concrete effects on thousands of individual lives. Joachim Rønneberg, Lieutenant, Norwegian Independent Company 1, instrumental in placing the explosives at Vemork, returned to Norway in 1945. Post-war, he managed public broadcasting in Ålesund and dedicated 4 decades to education about the operation. In a 1993 oral history with NRK, he said, "Each risk at Vemork was taken for a Norway we could reclaim, not for medals." Rønneberg corresponded for years with 5 other Gunnerside survivors. His field diary resides at the Norwegian Resistance Museum. He died in 2018 at age 99 in Ålesund. Heinrich Dubel, Oberjefreiter of the 121st SS Battalion Guard Team, was repatriated to Germany in 1946. After farming near Leipzig, he described the raid in interviews with Norwegian and German historians until his death in 1982 at age 62 in Leipzig. The Vemork Sabotage Memorial in Arjuken was dedicated on May 28, 1965. Its central basalt monument commemorates both Norwegian saboteurs and Telemark's wartime civilian hardships. Annual ceremonies on February 27 attract roughly 1,200 attendees. The 2023 80th anniversary included descendants, the Norwegian Prime Minister, and reenactments. Military education at the Royal Norwegian Military Academy incorporates Operation Gunnerside in its irregular warfare curriculum. In 1974, the Norwegian Army formalized Arctic training requirements based on Telemark lessons, affecting all commando and ranger regiments. The Norwegian Resistance Museum maintains over 400 documents and 28 oral histories from the raid, providing ongoing access to primary sources for future study. Key tactical lessons from Gunnerside shaped modern doctrines. The focus on small unit adaptability directly